I'll answer the question. You want answers?
What's up, YouTubers? Yes, it's me, Woodman29, and I'm actually on this side of the camera for once. I just want to give everybody an update. I recently hit 400 subscribers. To me, that's a huge deal. I want to thank everybody for stopping by my little corner of the YouTube verse. And a special thank you to all my subscribers and the folks that actually leave comments. I absolutely make it a point to answer everybody's comments the best that I can. I absolutely enjoy interacting with all my viewers. And I thought, let's post a question and answer video. If I get enough questions, I'll follow it up with an answer video. So if you have any questions for me, please put it in the comments section below in this video. What's up, YouTubers? Welcome back. It's me, Woodman29, and once again, I'm on this side of the camera. This is a follow-up to the question and answer video I posted a week or so ago, and right out of the gate, I just want to thank everybody that posted a question. Not really sure what happened to the audio quality on that video, so I apologize. It uploaded fine, but after I got done buffering, it just didn't come out that great. Without further ado, let me start answering some of your questions. Okay, the first question is from Gaz. Thank you, Gaz. This is a three-part question. Gaz writes, congratulations on the subs. I'll ask you the obvious question. What got you into collecting? How long have you been collecting? And what are your favorite pieces of your collection? Well, let me start by answering your very first question, Gaz. I can tell you that there's certain parts of my childhood that I remember like it was yesterday. The first one being in 1980, a small franchise by the name of Star Wars was extremely popular. Now, I was still too young to really understand the whole collecting aspect of any type of line or toy line. I just knew that these things looked really cool. So the Christmas of 1980, my family pulled together and actually bought me all these Star Wars figures. Now, mind you, I come from a pretty decent sized family and money wasn't really disposable. So when you got something, you learned real quick to take care of it. Now, we all know that the actual movie came out in 1979, but I actually wasn't exposed to the movie itself until 1983. I remember going over to my aunt's house, who at the time had HBO, and that's when HBO was just starting out. It was sometime in February. Let's slide Bobo over here, because I remember it was just really cold out, and I used to frequent my aunt's house for sleepovers. I remember one weekend she allowed me to stay up on the couch and watch the Star Wars movie. I could tell you, I was just taken aback. Here I had all these figures for all this time, making up the stories in my mind, and it wasn't until years later I actually got to see the movie and actually see the story and the roles that these characters actually played. Let's grab Luke. Now, I didn't know who was the good guys, who was the bad guys, so you can just imagine where my mind brought me. And for the next couple of years following, I was actually able to get some of the spaceships and a couple of the play sets for Christmas and birthdays and stuff. One particular play set that comes to mind I got, which actually included, yes, the blue Snaggletooth, which let me grab him right here and show you. Stand up here, Luke, let everybody see. Now here's the blue Snaggletooth, and it wasn't until I got older when I realized just how rare this figure actually was and the outrageous price he is on the aftermarket. Let's see if I can't get Darth Vader to stand up without knocking everyone over. I'm still a big fan of Star Wars and the franchise. Over the years I've tried to collect some more of the vintage figures. I don't have them all, but that's alright. I enjoy what I do have. I'll grab this guy over here. I'm going to grab R2, bring him in. Now, I've continued to collect these figures like I've said, but I've also moved on to the vintage collection, which came out some years back, and they are, obviously more articulated, a little bit taller, and have removable weapons, and I think that those figures are actually fantastic. And I have one more figure to throw in the frame here. Let me grab Hammerhead. See if he can't fit right here. One false move, and they all fall down like dominoes. Now, officially, I don't think this is when I started collecting, because these were all gifted to me, and it wasn't until 1982 when I was a strapping 11-year-old, my life was changed forever. Now, I'll tell you the story about this. I had this neighbor, his name was Jeff. And we used to play all the time out in his front yard. And in his front yard, he had this tree. That was our meeting place. And it was right in front of both his house, and my mom could still see me through the window. So we could play out there all day until we got called in for dinner. Now, Jeff and his younger brother, John, they were those typical kids that got everything. Every toy, anything new, yep, they had it. But this was pretty advantageous for me because I actually got to see some of the new stuff that was in the stores that I unfortunately didn't have and was still able to play with, because he was actually pretty good at letting me play with his toys with them. Now I remember running over there with my Star Wars figures in my hand and looking down and saying, "What the heck is this?" Him and his brother were playing with these little green army men. I remember they had a Jeep, a really big gun, the weapons were awesome, and they could actually pose way better than my measly Star Wars figures. And I can honestly say this was the beginning of my collection bug or career. I don't know how you want to define it. It was right around the fall, and Christmas was around the corner, so I knew exactly what I wanted for Christmas that year. And my birthday and any other option or opportunity I had. Now my mom used to frequent a store called Bradley's, and I don't know if you folks know what that is, but it was a department store back then. And it was just before Christmas, and of course going to the store and going to Bradley's was a big deal back then for us. And running over to the toy aisle and gaining the nerve to actually ask for a G.I. Joe figure before Christmas was just not heard of. But I did. And my mom, God bless her, allowed me to get one action figure. And the very first G.I. Joe action figure I got, which Jeff and John didn't have, was Snake Eyes. I remember to this day going to his house with this elusive black, mysterious figure, and now I was actually part of the G.I. Joe team officially because I had my own G.I. Joe toy. Now, let's see if I can't get him to stand up, because obviously G.I. Joe needs Cobra to fight. Grab him. So I guess this answers your question, guys. What got me into collecting? Well, these guys right here. This started it all off for me. To answer your second question, actually Zorparks the Destroyer asked the same question. Thank you, Zorparks. How long have you been collecting? Well, I guess the official answer is 1982. Continue to collect the G.I. Joe franchise ever since. I've amassed quite a collection, a whole bunch of vehicles, and I'm actually, at the risk of sounding braggadocious, was able to finally resurrect the USS Flag and actually gain all the pieces for the Defiant, two of my grails. There's something about the G.I. Joe line that's just stuck with me and has triggered my imagination ever since. I look over at these guys on my shelf and immediately I'm drawn back to going under that tree with my neighbors and my buddies and playing for hours. And for Gaz's final question, what are your favorite pieces of your collection? Now this is strictly nostalgia based. In 1985, a small cartoon series started by the name of M.A.S.K. If you haven't heard of it, check it out. Christmas of 1985, under the tree, was this bad boy right here, the Rhino. This, by far, is one of my most favorite pieces of my collection. My second piece of my collection that I actually hold dear is my very first G.I. Joe, Snake Eyes. And for those of you that don't know or have never heard of the M.A.S.K. cartoon, the engineering that went into all these toys was absolutely amazing. It was kind of a combination of Transformers smashed together with G.I. Joe, and I'll be doing a review of not only the Rhino truck, but all the other M.A.S.K. vehicles in my collection in the near future. But I can honestly say, if I had to choose what I could take with me and nothing else from my collection, you can bet these two items would be in my hand. Next question is from Mile High 96. Love your videos, man. Well, thank you. If you use them, what monsters or vehicles do you use to accompany your 1/18 scale figures? I unfortunately don't have a lot of monsters in my collection. I mean, I do love the Incredible Hulk, so I do have some of those 6-inch figures that I pose with my guys on the shelf. I recently acquired the Evolve Legacy Goliath figure. He's pretty cool. He stands about 6 inches tall with spikes, so I have my Joy Toy figures posed with him. Regarding vehicles, of course the Joy Toy M.A.S.K, And even though those are built for the 1/24 inch figures, I still use them on my shelf because they make really great display pieces. I do have quite an abundance of Joe vehicles. I unfortunately don't have a lot of room to display everything, so I'll switch them up. I also have a couple other oddball lines like Click and Play from Amazon and a couple of the M.A.S.K vehicles from the old Toys R Us. And unfortunately, the closest Toys R Us for me is up in Canada, and I live in Massachusetts, so that's quite a hike for me. So I hope that answers your question. Next up, Old School Shinobi asks, congrats on your subs. Well, thank you, Old School. I've recently begun restoring and customizing some cheaper M.A.S.K 118 vehicles, and I was wondering what some of your favorite vehicles are. I lean more toward the large-scale things like the M.A.S.K cargo plane, submarine, choppers, but also quite like the Leonard Alien small-scale APC. Anything that you've come across on that front that you'd be able to share? Outside of the obvious G.I. Joe and Hasbro stuff, there's a company called Click and Play that you can purchase on Amazon, and I'm not sure if you've heard of them. Definitely check them out. I actually have this Black Hawk helicopter. It's fantastic and got a great detail on it. They also carry the Little Bird, or what they call the SWAT Elite Unit Rescue Helicopter. You can fit your figures in this no problem at all. For your Navy or your water troopers, they carry this small dinghy. This thing is fantastic. It carries quite a bit of your troops and comes with some really great accessories. They also carry quite a few of these smaller play sets. Anything from the campfire to this Jeep. The military base comes with quite a bit of stuff. The actual Air Force FA Super Hornet is really nice. And as of the posting of this video, this stuff is still available on Amazon, and the prices are actually really reasonable. So if you're looking for something outside of the Hasbro realm that you can afford and not afraid to customize and not spend a ton of dough, I'd say that this line is actually worth checking out. There's also another company on Amazon that I recently discovered called Sunny Days. Not sure if they're one and the same company, just under different banners, but I recently acquired this Humvee. This thing is fantastic. Your figures can fit in it no problem. It comes with a grenade launcher that you can actually pose outside of the vehicle. The turret on top swivels back and forth. Now the only downside is it comes in this desert tan color. But for under 23 bucks, you could actually paint this thing black or camouflage or heck, any color you want, and you're not really breaking the bank. Now to answer the first part of your question, what are some of my favorite vehicles? As I said earlier, I recently restored the G.I. Joe Defiant, and it's taken me all this time to finally get one in my possession, and it was absolutely worth the wait. It took me forever to put this thing together because there's so many pieces, but this is one of my holy grails, and it makes a great display piece. You can fit multiple figures on it, so I have to say this absolutely tops my 1/18 scale collection of favorite vehicles. Thanks for posing your question. Next question on the list is from Lockdown Productions. Lockdown writes, "Oi, oi, how you doing?" Wow, that was a really bad accent. Sorry about that. 3 questions for you. Do you customize your action figures? Do you army build any of your action figures? And what is your favorite action figure line? Also, one question from my daughter Lucy. Well, hello there, Lucy. Do you set your figures up in dioramas? I love your channel. Keep them coming. Well, thank you, Lockdown and Lucy. And to answer your first question, I absolutely do customize my figures. Now, I try to build figures that, 1, I don't have in my collection, or 2, I have in my collection and I'd really like to improve on. Now, I don't claim to be a master customizer or anything to that nature. I've been doing it for quite some time and been able to pick up a few tricks along the way. And I'd actually like to maybe start a segment on my channel called Customized Corner or something to that effect. Let me know if you guys are interested. I'll show you a couple of my custom figures that I've made recently. I've always been a fan of the October Guard from the G.I. Joe comics. For some reason I thought that they were really underrated. And before I could actually afford the convention set, which I'm still trying to piece together, I decided to make my own figures. Now, on the far right is Colonel Brickoff, and he started out as being the Destro version 23 figure from 2009, The Rise of Cobra. The center figure is Dana, or Diana, depending on how you pronounce it, from the October Guard, and Her base body is from the 50th anniversary Lady J figure. Then there's Roddy Piper to her left, and Voltar on the very far left. And let me push these guys back and bring in my absolute favorite figure and very first custom figure I made. My childhood hero, Superman. And I wanted a really good representation of my childhood hero, so I figured, why not give it a shot and try to make my own? Now, Superman's on a base body of the Gladiator from the Marvel Universe line. He has a custom raised S on his chest, a custom sculpted head, and a soft goods cape. I painted the entire body and, of course, glued on the S and head and made the cape, and voila, here we go. Now, Roddy Piper is a combination of Quinn, lower body, Snake Eyes upper body. The jacket's from the Indiana Jones line, the Mutt figure, and the head of Roddy Piper is from the WWE Build and Brawl set from back in the day. Looking at Voltar on the far left, he's a combination of a couple of different figures. His upper body is from the Ripcord figure from the G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra line in 2009, the Accelerator suit, and his lower half is from the 2012 Pursuit of Cobra His Attack Scout driver. Now his head is a complete custom, and his helmet is actually removable. This figure took a while because I had to paint him from head to toe. Now this is just a couple examples of some of the figures that I've made. I'll save the rest for my new segment that I want to put on my channel. To answer your second question, do you army build any of your action figures? Well, I do. I army build the figures that are worth army building. Things like the Cobra Troopers, the Ninjas, things of that nature. I try to keep my army building to 8 or less, because army building can get out of control really quick. But I have to admit there is one exception to my army building rule, and that's the Vintage Collection Stormtroopers. For some reason, I just can't get enough of those guys, and I've lost count at 20, and I know that's a lot. I always wanted to create a picture with the Emperor standing over his massive army of Stormtroopers. Now, to answer your third question, what is my favorite action figure line? Well, the obvious answer would be G.I. Joe, of course. But I don't want to dismiss the Joy Toy figures that I've been recently reviewing. Before I started the reviews, I was actually collecting the Joy Toy stuff when they were 1/24 scale, and those figures are absolutely amazing with the amount of detail in that scale. So when they came out with the 1/18 scale and continued on with all the great articulation, detail, and paint sculpt, they're at the top of my list as well. And to answer Lucy's question, do I set up my figures in dioramas? Unfortunately, I just don't have the room to do that. Someday I will though, and once I do, I will absolutely take some pictures and post it so Lucy can see them. And for the final question from Holland Bricks. Thanks, Holland. I would love to know more about your Joe-verse. I know this is a broader question, but these are the things I enjoy talking about. When it comes to my Joes, it actually falls into 3 different categories. These are the original figures, or the OG figures, and then I actually have a set of older looking figures. So of course, not everybody stays the same age all the time. And then, for the third chapter of that, is actually the offspring and or relatives of those older figures that have taken over the mantles and the code names like Rock and Roll's daughter and Hawk's son and things of that nature. I think it's kind of cool that when you're an original Joe, and as you age out and get ready to retire, you would actually pass along your legacy to someone else in your family. So that's where my mind goes when I look at my collection and my quote-unquote Joe-verse. Now this is a perfect segue to something I've been wanting to talk about. Now if you watch the other channels, of course, like Strident and ODC, you'll see that they've created their own mini armies based on their imagination. Strident has his Fenris company, ODC has his Sweet 16, and I actually thought it was kind of funny. I thought I was the only one that wanted to create his own private army. With me, it started out with this emblem that I drew a couple of years ago, and it went from there. So here's the picture that I actually drew. And I've always been a history buff, and there's something about the samurai that's always intrigued me. Everything from their culture, their respect for everything that they do, and their consistent and constant training. And a little history lesson. The samurai used to wear masks called mempos, and not only did it protect the samurai, but also intimidated their enemy. So next I had to come up with a name. So I came up with the name Ronin Company. Now Ronin means a samurai without a master or a lord. Perfect segue to my custom army that I was building. And when Joy Toy released their Skeleton Forces Hell Grim Reaper set with those skeleton masks, that was it. My team was born. Now I don't want to show you the entire team because once again I want to actually create a video for this entire team, but I will show you a couple of the characters. First up is Hammer. He's the gun expert. He's proficient in all firearms. He can actually pick up a gun anywhere in the world and tear it down, clean it, put it back together, and hit a target every damn time. He never misses. And don't let the musclehead stereotype fool you. He's actually a genius. He carries doctorates in physics and chemistry. So, never judge a book by the cover, I guess, right? Now, this is one of the Grim Reaper masks I was telling you about. And, as you can see, it follows the samurai storyline pretty well. Let me see if I can't put it on his head on camera. Should fit on him pretty well. I had it on him earlier. Yep. There we go. I absolutely love these masks. And it's just funny how these masks came out after I drew my picture, and it was almost like they made these masks just for me. Now, I don't know about you, but if I saw this guy in a dark alleyway, I think it would send chills down my spine. Now, the Ronin Company is hired by the government to do those Black Op type missions, the ones that aren't on the books. Now, these guys also have meta-human tracking technology. These are the folks that the government would actually send in to track down any of those metahumans that seem to be breaking the law and bring them back to justice in some form, dead or alive. Next up is Oshi Shikara. He's actually a descendant of the famous 47 Ronin from history. He's the samurai silent attacker. He's a bowmaster, silent weapon expert. He's also an expert in Kali and swordsmanship. He's a master assassin, and he actually lives by the code of IEE. Infiltrate, eliminate, and evacuate. Now this is just a really brief review on my Ronin team. A sneak peek, if you will. I'll be doing a full review of my entire team real soon, and really like to know what you guys think. Well, before I wrap up this video, I really want to thank everyone who took time out of their day to ask me a question. I sincerely appreciate every one of my viewers and everybody that actually leaves comments and their thoughts on my videos. Stay tuned for some more reviews coming up real soon. I'm currently working on some more Joy Toy reviews, and I also have quite a bit of ideas for the customized corner segment I'm going to be soon posting on my channel. Now, it wouldn't be a Woodman's video unless I wrap it up by saying, help a fellow collector out and share your knowledge.